Two things about writing I'd like to preface this little lesson with. Number one, knowing grammar does not make people great writers. If it did, the very best writers we would have would be linguists. It's a little bit of a joke in my field. If you've ever read things written by linguists, while they are deep and penetrating and insightful and interesting, it's not exactly the most delightful prose style to read. On the other hand, it was once pointed out to me by a colleague that, if you like the analogy, not knowing grammar is a little bit like having a flat tire and not knowing how to replace the tire. If you don't know grammar and something bad happens to your sentence, you might not know how to fix it. Anyway, so with that in mind, this lesson has to do with style primarily. That is to say that all sentences are not equal and different types of sentences are appropriate to different fields and to different audiences. But in order to get a handle on how to fix your sentences, it does help to start, if you like, with, I suppose, a jack to jack up your car and some sort of a way to remove your lug nuts. So here we go. This is your toolkit. Sentence terms, sentence types. Sentence types, number one, the simple sentence. He threw the ball. I indicate to students always the first thing you should look for in any sentence to figure out what's going on, and this is for fixing your own sentences, this is for reading complex sentences that you're assigned to read. This is also, if you like, for translating, for working in other languages. Hunt for the verb. Find the verb and then figure out who's doing it, and then you can figure out what's happening. So, job one, where's the verb? The verb is right here. He threw the ball. That's what's happening. Okay, now that we know where the verb is, we need to find the subject or the actor. And the actor in this sentence is he because he is doing the throwing. And of course you have the ball, so you want to know what do we do with that. And in this case, the ball is simply the object of the verb. It's the thing that's being thrown. Okay, so a simple sentence, it doesn't have to be just one person that's acting. It could be they threw the balls. That's still a simple sentence because it's still a simple structure. Something taking action, the action that is being taken, and so on. So this is a very, very simple sentence, but the thing that makes it simple is that it's going in a direct line. One particular thing that's happening. Okay, let's go to the next type. The compound sentence. Cheng Mo, over here, threw the ball, over here, and Dong Yub, this fellow over here, waited for it. Okay, so this is a compound sentence, and what makes it compound is that you have this clause here, Cheng Mo threw the ball, right? That could stand on its own, so that is a clause. Dong Yub waited for it. That is also a clause that could stand on its own and be one sentence. What makes it compound is that you have two of them together and they are joined by a comma and the word and. So let's look at it. Our verbs, threw and waited. Those are verbs. Okay, our subjects, who's taking the action, our subjects are Cheng Mo and Dong Yub. Okay, and the objects of the verb are, of course, the ball and it. Okay, so the required connectors. You have to have required connectors in a compound sentence. Number one, there has to be a coordinating conjunction. And is one type of coordinating conjunction. Let's focus on these. And, nor, but, or, yet, so. These are the kinds of coordinating conjunctions you see all the time in contemporary writing. For, you're used to seeing that as a preposition, like I bought the flowers for you. That's a preposition. The only time for is used as a coordinating conjunction is when it's used to mean because. I stood for the flag, for I am a patriot. And no, you don't see for being used as a coordinating conjunction in contemporary writing. Usually, you see for being used to mean because in 18th century writing. So unless you really enjoy Jefferson, you're probably not going to come across that very often. But this, in total, in the English language, this is all of the coordinating conjunctions. So you have to have a coordinating conjunction, and you also have to have this comma, okay? So the comma is placed after the first clause, right, and then space, and then your coordinating conjunction, and then space, and then your second clause. Always, always, always this structure. Okay, next type is the complex sentence. Okay, so here we go. Same action. As Chang Mo threw the ball, Dong Yub waited for it. It's almost the same sentence, but it has a different structure. Okay, so let's look at this. The subjects and the verbs are still the same. Chang Mo and Dong Yub, these are still the subjects of the sentence. Threw and waited are still the verbs in the sentence. But there is what is called a subordinating conjunction instead of a coordinating conjunction. And you can look at this. Sub means below, as in submarine, right? Below the surface, below the water. So subordinating means located under. So the subordinating conjunction means that what is coming after it is less important than what comes at the end. So you use subordinating conjunctions to prioritize the clauses in your sentence. Where you subordinate, you're saying this action is less important than that action. Okay, so let's look at these a little bit. Compound sentences versus complex sentences. Coordinating conjunctions versus subordinating conjunctions. Okay, so our coordinating conjunctions, this is what they do. They make the two clauses of equal value. What's happening in the first and what's happening in the second are happening in conjunction. There's nothing is more important than the other thing. Now when you use add, you're adding the second clause. You're just this plus that. Yeah? But when you're choosing to use but or yet, then you're providing a contrast. So if you look at our sentence over here, what would you say? Chang Mo threw the ball, but Dong Yub waited for it? No, that doesn't make any sense at all. You could say something like, Chang Mo threw the ball, but Dong Yub wasn't paying attention. That would be a contrast, right? Something unexpected. Okay, so that shows a contrast, and the word so is used by itself, just so, is used to show result. Chang Mo threw the ball, so he expected to strike out Dong Yub. That was his purpose, okay? That was what he was trying to accomplish. Okay, subordinating conjunctions, again, they create a different type of a sentence. They do not make the two clauses equal. They make one clause less important than the other. And there are many subordinating conjunctions. Long list of them. This is, actually I think this might be all of them. What subordinating conjunctions do very nicely is they specify the relationship between the clauses in much clearer, more specific ways than this. There are subordinating conjunctions that indicate time. So you could say, after Chang Mo threw the ball, Dong Yub hit it. Okay, so the after makes the first clause less important than the second one, and it also structures the sentence around time. So the whole list of subordinating conjunctions that are of time: after, before, since, when, until, as, and while. And this is the whole list, okay? And these words are used to structure the sentence to indicate an order of time. There are also subordinating conjunctions that are conditional, okay? Although, right? Although Dong Yub waited to hit the ball, Chang Mo threw it high, right? That's a condition. That's a condition. So although, if, even though, unless, where, and whether, these are all establishing a condition where if this thing is true, then that thing will happen. If I take my umbrella today, it will rain. Well, Actually, that rarely happens, does it? But these are conditions. Okay, so that, as opposed to so, these are two different structures. So that is of purpose. I brought my umbrella so that I could stay dry if it rained. Okay, so purpose. There's cause. Subordinating conjunctions since can be used as a cause as well as of time. Has that sort of double meaning. And also, of course, because it shows cause. Subordinating conjunctions can show comparison, than. This is more expensive than that, right? So that's comparison. And as if is kind of a, it's kind of like setting up a metaphor. He dressed as if he were a millionaire, or something like that. It's actually, in some ways, it's almost a condition, but it's not a true condition. Okay, and then there are subordinating conjunctions, who, whom, whose, which, and that, and those are to give more information about the person, or, you know, possibly the car or the dog. You can use that to mean those things. So of person, we could look at the sentence, and you could say something like, Chang Mo, who threw the ball, expected Dong Yob to hit it. So who threw the ball then becomes the subordinating clause there. Okay, so that is our lovely lesson on sentence types. Enjoy.